At high altitude, helicopters don't give warnings the way people expect. There is no loud alarm saying something is wrong. Things quietly move closer to the edge. One small assumption about power, wind, or timing can slowly reduce your options without you realizing it. A wrong assumption can turn a successful mission to a disaster. Nature is unforgiving if you're complacent. Flying helicopters in high altitude teaches lessons that go far beyond aviation. It teaches how to think, how to plan, and how to respect limits. It also teaches you to respect weather. You should remember that takeoffs are optional, but landings are mandatory. In this video, I want to talk about what high altitude flying really teaches, not technically, but mentally. I am a helicopter pilot with over 3,500 plus flying hours, operated across a wide range of terrain, from deserts, high altitude, and jungles. A large part of my flying has been in environments where conditions change quickly with respect to weather, wind, visibility, and aircraft performance. High altitude flying is not a separate skill, it's an extension of basic flying, but with much smaller margins. A single sortie would make you climb from mean sea level to 18,000 feet. So in this case, you can see in terms of atmospheric pressure, within a period of 1 hour, the crew gets exposed to half of the value of pressure, what exists at sea level, in a non-pressurized helicopter cockpit. This results in physiological changes in the body for which he or she, whosoever is the pilot, should be adapted, and the durability of the machine is also tested. The same helicopter that feels forgiving at low altitude becomes very honest in the mountains. It responds exactly to physics, nothing more, nothing less. Power is limited, so the margin to play around with collective is also lesser. Heavier the aircraft, lesser the altitude you can reach. That's why the lessons learned here tend to stay with you. Now let's see what makes high altitude flying different. The first thing high altitude teaches you is respect. That is respect for physics. At altitude, air is thinner. The helicopter produces less power. Your margins, they shrink. What this means practically is that you don't have the luxury of fixing mistakes later. And to fix mistakes early, you need to have a pre-flight discussion where you discuss in specific the parameters and procedures to follow during the mission. It may be concerning the reserve of power or the reserve of torque available, payload that you can carry, and the minimum fuel that is required for the mission. In the planes, you can sometimes correct your decisions after committing. In the mountains, decisions must be made correct before you commit. Every aspect needs more thought with respect to weight, temperature, wind direction, approach angle, and getaway directions. Even a routine flight demands full attention because routine doesn't exist at high altitude. At these altitudes, change in temperature changes air density, which further changes the requirement of power. Therefore, every change in weather phenomena presents a new challenge in helicopter flying. Now let's see the biggest mental shift. That's the ego as a pilot and the discipline. One of the biggest lessons high altitude flying teaches is humility. In the mountains, confidence is useful, but overconfidence is dangerous. The terrain does not care about experience, rank, or your flying hours. It responds only to preparation and discipline. High altitude teaches you to question yourself constantly You stop asking questions, can I do this? And you start asking, should I do this? That shift changes everything. You learn that saying no, turning back, or delaying a mission is often the most professional decision. At any given day, best of the pilots are tested for this skill. You have to be on your toes if you have to be safe. Secondly, any emergency, if it happens on board, further aggravates the challenge of landing safely. Mountain and altitude flying is based on certain standard operating procedures, and these procedures have been made as an outcome of learnings of many accidents. Now let's see how decisions are made under pressure. People often think pilots succeed because they take bold decisions under pressure. However, the truth is that decisions are based on time-tested procedures and the agility of mind to react spontaneously to an emergent situation. In reality, most good decisions are made before the pressure actually arrives. High altitude flying trains you to stay ahead of the aircraft. You constantly think in terms of options. What is my plan B? What is my exit? What happens if conditions change? It also sometimes depends on the task at hand. If you are involved in the mission of evacuating people from floods or some natural calamity, you may tend to get emotional and may result in wrong decisions, especially in case of a bad weather. The key is to evaluate and follow the procedure. The most dangerous situation is actually not bad weather. It's having no options left. High altitude teaches you that preserving options is the key to safety. And this mindset slowly extends beyond flying into everyday decisions. Now finally, let's see what other lessons we learn in life from high altitude flying. Flying helicopters in high altitude teaches patience. It teaches you to slow down mentally even when things feel urgent. It teaches you that planning matters more than improvisation. Calm thinking matters more than speed. Discipline is the key to longevity in high altitude flying. Don't take chances with weather, as weather is supreme. Experience is not about doing difficult things. It's about consistently making safe, disciplined choices. These lessons don't stay in the cockpit. They follow you into life, work, and leadership. In this channel, I'll be sharing more lessons from helicopter flying, about aviation decision making, and realistic career insights. No theory, not motivation, just real lessons learned over time. If this kind of content interests you, do consider subscribing.